All right, we're recording and we'll make this available on our website afterward for those who may want to reference it or share it with others. So I guess with that, thank you everyone for joining us today for our session covering online programs in the emerging and growing field of geographic information science, or GIS. This session is going to last about an hour and we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. If you do have a question along the way, you can use the chat feature. I think it'll show up maybe at the bottom of your Zoom console there. And I guess as a bit of an icebreaker and to use that chat feature, we want to know a little bit about the audience. So if you can post in the chat where you're joining from, say city and state, and maybe even country if applicable, and maybe just a little bit about the current weather as well. Amanda, if you want to post a prompt in the chat now to get us started, we can kind of watch those come in and learn a little bit about the audience. And then as we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide and just cover the agenda for today. So we'll do some introductions of the Michigan Tech team here and a little bit of an overview of Michigan Tech for those that may not be familiar, or maybe you've haven't engaged with Michigan Tech in a while. So after that, we'll get into GIS at Michigan Tech and maybe hopefully make the case for why study these programs at Michigan Tech. We'll cover more details about these programs that we have, which include 3 graduate certificates, followed by some next steps from an application admission side for those who may be interested in pursuing an online certificate through Michigan Tech. Like I said, questions at the end. Questions can also be posted along the way using the chat feature. As far as introductions, my name is Rick Berkey. I'm the Director for Global Campus and Continuing Education here at Michigan Tech. And joining me today are Dr. Parth Bhatt. He's an assistant teaching professor and researcher. He's the program director for these graduate programs in GIS. He's in the College of Forest Resources and Environmental Science. We have Amanda Irwin. Amanda is our graduate admissions manager for Global Campus and your point of contact for our online application, admission, and onboarding as an online student through one of our Global Campus programs.
Yes.
And Shelley Gallia, Marketing and Communication Manager for Global Campus. Shelley leads the efforts to plan, organize, and hold these information sessions and all things marketing and communication for Global Campus. So that's our team here today. We all welcome you. And let me go ahead and start out with just a little bit about Michigan Tech. So some points of pride and fast facts for those that may be interested. We were founded in 1885. We're in Houghton, Michigan in the Upper Peninsula. And the focus 140 years ago at that time was really on metallurgy and mining, engineering, and technology to support the local copper mining industry at that time. It was actually, we were named the Michigan Mining School at that time. If you fast forward 140 years to today, we're now an HSTEM university, so we have a breadth of education and research in health, science, technology, engineering, and math. So we've expanded in scope and breadth over those 140 years. And more recently, in February of this year, Michigan Tech is now designated as an R1 research university. So that's the highest level of research activity from the Carnegie Classification of Higher Education Institutions. So it formally places Michigan Tech in the top tier. I believe it's 187 universities out of more than 4,000. So a subset of universities nationally with that recognition. And that's based on our research activity in terms of grants, contracts, as well as number of doctoral degrees awarded each year. Our enrollment is about 7,400 students, both combined graduate and undergraduate, about 80% undergrad, 20% grad. I think what's unique about that too is we're relatively small, maybe by university standards, but we have a high concentration and very large programs, in fact, in these STEM fields, which you'll learn a little bit more about today. We have 5 colleges with over 140 programs. So literally, I like to say something for everyone's interests. This includes our colleges of business, computing, engineering, forest resource and environmental science, and our sciences and arts college. More recently, Global Campus is home to more than 40 online graduate programs. So we launched Global Campus in the fall of 2021. So we're going on our 4th year with the Global Campus. And a little bit about the College of Forest Resources and Environmental Science, or CFRES. That was started in 1936. And like I was talking about with that small university, large STEM program, CFRES houses Michigan's largest accredited forestry program. So again, large programs in a smaller university setting, which I think has advantages from a student experience and from the education and research activities that we do. So let me start with making a little bit of a case for why study GIS at Michigan Tech. Well, first off, GIS is a growing and multidisciplinary field with a breadth of applications. It really draws upon several sciences and engineering fields and computing fields. So geography, computer science, mathematics, engineering, when you think of the sensing technologies and the hardware involved, and even many other areas beyond that that are really the known strengths of Michigan Tech's education and research. This geographic data happens to be one of the most abundant types of data available out there. And really at a high level, if organizations can utilize and visualize and make sense of this data and integrate it with other data sources that are becoming more pervasive and prevalent, around us, that makes the case for understanding the data and the patterns and ultimately making better decisions in whatever context that is. So the applications for GIS are really broad, whether you talk directly to things like weather, natural resource management, but even in logistics and business decisions, the utilities are utilizing this data, urban planning. So the list really goes on. And if we want to focus more specifically on natural resources and environmental science, here are just some of the roles that are relying more and more today on GIS tools and skills. I won't read all the titles here, but you can see the breadth from cartography, developing maps, performing environmental studies and recommendations, managing natural resources, wildlife ecology, biology, natural habitats, conservation efforts. So if you're in one of these fields now, or one of these roles now, or maybe seeking a role in one of these areas, I think this session will help show you more about how our programs can help prepare you not only for success today, but also in the future as these fields continue to adapt and evolve. So continuing the case for why GIS at Michigan Tech. Well, we happen to have a true subject matter expert in Dr. Bott joining us today, and just a little bit about his background. He brings a wealth of multidisciplinary knowledge and experience. And I would say that transcends both the hardware and the software aspects of GIS. He's often working in the field, as shown in this image here. This is collecting some data on an invasive species in our local wetlands. Another differentiator is Dr. Bott's emphasis on projects and application, which is also a strength of Michigan Tech as a whole. So not only learning the theory and the tools and maybe the software and things like that, but how to apply it in an open-ended context. So through our programs, you'll be exposed to applications in things like land use, habitat mapping, forest health, and more. And these are things that Dr. Bott works day in and day out exploring. He's very active with ESRI, the Environmental Systems Research Institute, which is really a leader for more than 5 decades in GIS software. So their ArcGIS platform really is the standard for today in GIS. And another part of keeping these programs relevant is Dr. Bott's engagement with research and presenting at conferences and staying current in the field and really bringing that back to the education programs that we have. So just noted there at the bottom of the slide, he has an upcoming talk through ESRI's annual education summit in San Diego. So where he's sharing some of his best practices with using modern GIS tools to teach GIS topics. Here's another example of Dr. Bott's work outside the classroom. So this was a trip to Suriname in February, so just a few months ago. through an international collaboration with a local agricultural university. The focus was really on GIS education and research in the context of sustainable development. So using these GIS tools and technologies through some workshops there. And I guess the context for Suriname, they face many challenges like other areas of the world too, associated with managing and preserving their rainforests, but also the rich biodiversity there. So Dr. Bott's work is really helping to bridge the skills gap that we're talking about today with the use of the GIS tools and methods to help expose and equip the local community to things like remote sensing, UAV and drone technology. And I think a unique aspect from this project was data collection in remote settings where the technology has challenges depending on the geography. Bringing things a little more close to home here at Michigan Tech, one other differentiator is our 3,700-acre forest, the Ford Center in Alberta, about 40 minutes south of campus here, if you're familiar with the area. So we literally have a living laboratory to enhance student education through those real-world GIS applications like I've talked about in the previous slides. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of some of the reasoning and justification to consider studying GIS here at Michigan Tech. And with that, I think it's a perfect segue to now introduce Dr. Parth Bhatt, who happens to be joining us from the Ford Center today. So welcome, Parth. He'll take us through these programs in more detail.
Thank you, Rick. All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning from wherever you're joining. I'm really excited to be here with you all. I was just working in the field from 8 in the morning today at the Ford Center, collecting some different species of red oak experiment that we are doing and collecting some drone characteristics over those study areas. Next slide, Rick. Can you switch to the next slide, Rick? Thank you. All right. So to get started with, why should you be applying at Michigan Tech or the College of Forest Resources for these certificates? In many ways, in a broader aspect, it's a sort of a choosing your own educational path, right? You can start out with one course. You can see whether you fit in the online program world or you like the asynchronous format of our classes, or you could take the whole certificate and explore, different options. You can take courses or classes in all 3 semesters. As a matter of fact, this summer, I'm offering 2 classes. One is the introductory GIS class, and one is a GPS field techniques class. Given where we are located, some of you might know that we get really heavy snow in the winter. And due to that, sometimes things can be challenging. And just in general, people living in Midwest. So hence, we offer the GPS classes in fall and summer semesters. So you could try out these advanced studies with taking these graduate level certificates. You could just take one certificate or combine them into all 3 certificates and earn your master's. That's a pathway that I'll be talking here in the next slides. Next slide, Rick. Thank you. So these are the 3 stackable certificates that we are offering at Michigan Tech. The first one really is the foundation in geographical information science for natural resources. And the reason it says natural resources in the name is because some of you might know or are new to this, but College of Forest Resources is one of the leaders across the country. It's one of the top rated program of forestry degree in the country. And hence the natural resources focused. Plus, we are located in this beautiful Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where there's plenty of, fresh water and abundance of forest. So the program really emphasizes on natural resources skills. But it doesn't really limit you to those natural resources field, right? It goes beyond that. The tools, the techniques, the theory, the applications that you learn in the class can be applicable to many different fields. One of the example I would like to give here is that one of my students who went through this degree in-person program is currently working at AutoZone. What he does is basically, finding right locations where to put the next store. Moving on to the second certificate, which is the Advanced Geographical Information Science. So well, I'll take a step back. I think I should mention that the 3 courses that goes into the foundation classes are sort of the essential building blocks of this certificate. So if you've been new to the GIS world, or a beginner, I would say starting out with the foundation certificate is the right way to do it, because it sort of gives you the width and the breadth of GIS. You get introduced to ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online. You do various sets of exercises at a very beginner level. You learn to make maps. Within the GPS class, you learn to play with the Trimble devices. So we actually ship out the Trimble devices to our students, which is really a big step up as an online course of a field technique class. It's a big step up. We use Esri's field maps, Survey 123, Quick Capture, and stuff like that. And the map design, which is the 3rd class, which sort of makes you I would say, a beginner to intermediate level cartographer, better map maker, right? We all love to look at a good map. The 2nd certificate, moving on to the advanced one. So once you do the foundation, now you sort of a bit of an upgrade. You're learning, more advanced set of skills within GIS, and you learn about GIS project management, and you learn about the Python programming for the GIS and remote sensing world. Now, the Python programming is a really, hands-on experience. So anyone who's a beginner and sort of just looking to get started in programming, it's a great segue into the programming world, because I know this from a fact from our students. A lot of the times that people who have natural resources background or ecology and stuff like that are usually a bit hesitant to dive into the programming world, but this class is really to make you comfortable and deep dive into the world of remote sensing and GIS. And the 3rd certificate, it is strictly focused on remote sensing. So anyone, let's say you had experience with GIS quite a bit, but you did not took a lot of remote sensing classes or advanced level remote sensing, image processing, machine learning, deep learning. So this certificate is really tailored towards the remote sensing. So it goes from concepts to basics to intermediate to advanced level, like, as I said, deep learning and machine learning. You learn about different classification systems, different image enhancement techniques, and things like that. And throughout all these 3 certificates, we go through a wide variety of softwares and applications on your phone. So it's really a hands-on experience. So, you learn 2 lectures or 1 lecture a week, and then there is a 1 lab or I would say a recitation built along each week. So whatever you learn in your class as a theory, you apply it right away in your lab handouts. The good thing, all of the content is recorded, it's asynchronous, so you can take your time, you can do it at your own pace and your own time, except of course there are deadlines for the weekly assignments to keep you and me both on track for the course, right? And another flexibility that, people who are like working professionals, why they love this format is because sometimes, you're doing a 9-to-5 job and you don't have time on Monday to Friday, but, you can utilize your weekends and still achieve the goals that you like. Now, another beautiful thing about these courses is that, let's say you take the Foundation in GIS certificate and it has 3 classes, which you could take over 3 semesters. So you can take literally 1 class each semester and be done with the certificate over the span of 3 semesters. So that's really beautiful because it's, it's sort of, it helps you lower the burden along with your full-time job on on yourself, right? Next slide. So just to get, I talked a bit about this, but, just to briefly go over this, we have 3 classes in the Foundation of GIS, FW5550, which is the Foundation in GIS class. We work with ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Online, and we go through various exercises and talk about different concepts, working through like wetland mapping, finding out new campsite locations and whatnot. 4545, which is the map design. As I said, it's a class designed to make you a better cartographer. And 5554 sort of gives you that hands-on experience to go out in the field and collect real-time data set and then visualize that data and make maps out of it, right? And also analyze, right? Next slide. The second one, the Advanced GIS. They have, again, 3 classes, the Advanced GIS Concepts and Analysis, 3 credits. GIS Project Management really, shapes you up for industry, that if you go to a real industry, what you'll be doing day in and day out, you'll be doing like designing basic budgeting of like as a GIS analyst, you are part of an office and you need to budget out some IT infrastructure and stuff like that, or you need to do like enterprise GIS and stuff like that. So that this class is really helpful towards that. And then the third one, the Python programming, which has been really popular. That's the class that I was talking about earlier. That's very much designed for beginners and people who are looking to get some intermediate level of knowledge by the end of the class. We do dive like deep into like deep learning and stuff, but it's just a very touch and go at the end. Next one. And the final one, the remote sensing one, as I said, it starts with the conceptual class, remote sensing environment, 5540, and then 5560, digital image processing, is the advanced level of the remote sensing class. In both of these classes, we go through a wide variety of things. We use ArcGIS Pro, we use Google Earth Engine. We do a lot of bit of, I would say a lot of bit of coding, but we go hand in hand with coding and the software. So it really makes your life easier and gives you that taste of automation that the industry is demanding right now. And then there's a seminar class to sort of fulfill out the final requirement that sort of shapes you up for presenting research work. You go through different like research papers, you read through it, you summarize it, and each week one person would present against the class about what they learned or what their impression about that paper is, talk about the differences in the paper, plus and minuses, things like that. Next slide. So again, the example of a schedule would be, you could really pan it out over, several years and complete different certificates if you want to earn the full Masters of GIS. Along with this, you might be wondering that each certificate is only 9 credits, so that accounts only for 27, right? And we need 30 credit to be graduating. So for that, at the end here, you could see we have a class for WebGIS, which is still in development, but it should be live this fall. And this class is mainly designed for people who want to work with the WebGIS infrastructure like ArcGIS Online, Enterprise GIS, and some other applications like making dashboards, Experience Builder, and stuff like that. And the Spatial Statistics, another class that can also help you fulfill that requirement of the 3 credits. But once again, it's really flexible. You could, as I said, take one class each semester and keep progressing. Or you could just take one certificate and be done with it, depending on what you're looking to get out of the program. Right? Next slide. So now we're going to take a look at the peek inside the program. Next slide, Rick. So this is how a normal, Canvas page would look like for a couple of my classes. So you start out as this first segment of the slide where the orientation and welcome to the class. Since you guys are all online students, you'll be basically going through a sort of online orientation. Everything is recorded for you. You do an instructor introduction, then an introduction to Canvas to make your life easy, to how to navigate across Canvas, how to access the material, how to access, other things, how to reach out for help, how to send messages. And then there's a course introduction, which we talk about how the course is going to pan out over the 14 weeks. Then there's a segment of discussion where you introduce yourself to the class. And just like this, introduce yourself to the class, each week there is like discussion along with your classmates or your peers, where you talk about what you learned in that week in your own words. You talk about 2 or 3 key points that you really stood out for you. And you really interact with your classmates in those discussions. There's plenty of resources out here for technical support and online student resources. We have a great IT at Michigan Tech who are really out there to support even our online students all the time. Basically, this whole orientation guide sort of makes your life easy into the online education at Michigan Tech. And then, by each week, the course is organized into different modules. So like here, week 1, what is a GIS? You have a couple of lectures, you have the lecture slides and lecture recordings. You have the lab handouts and the lab recording along with it. You have the lab data sets, you have discussions, and if there's any reading that is required, it will also be posted here. So, it's a very organized and easy to navigate format that any students will be comfortable going through. So once again, it's practical, detailed introduction to the course and online learning, very well organized. We also introduce you to several free learning resources. There are some great podcasts that I like to, point my students to. These are only 3 mentioned here, but there are almost 6 or 7 that I really give out to the students. So, we all love, listening to good podcasts. And these are some great resources out there. So along with, just studying, it's also fun and enjoying class, even though you are not in person. It really is a very interactive class module. Next slide. Some real world examples of people who have taken this class in the past, both in person and online, and some of them who I know personally who are like working out there, my students. Based on the skills that you learn in the class, these are just few examples. As I was saying, based on environmental and accessibility criteria, you can use GIS systems and different tools and applications to identify the most suitable location for a campsite on a federal land or a national park. You can locate hospitals within a 10-mile buffer, for example, of Los Angeles or Detroit metropolitan area by just few lines of code in your ArcGIS Pro software itself. And geocoding is a great way to help in that. You could locate the nearest polling booth in your ward and identify where you need to go for voting. Or as I was saying, one of my students, his day in and day out job is, find the best location for AutoZone stores where to put the next door. So, what all goes into those sort of applications? You're looking at economic outlook, you're looking at people's daily income in the neighborhoods, you're looking at the, the ethnicity of their area, you're looking at the old historical record of people spending and other factors. And then based on that, you develop a model and decide where you might want to put your next door. Next slide. But once again, these are just few examples. It goes way beyond that. One of my students, she works at the city of Sheboygan. Her primary job is, working at the maintaining the GIS infrastructure with the ArcGIS enterprise system. These are some of the comments that the students have put out at the end of the course survey. They've been, as I said, since the classes are really hands-on, the students have been really able to implement the skills right away in their day-to-day work environment. And as an instructor, that's the best feeling. When your students say to you that, I've been able to use what you taught me right away, what better it could be, right? They have gained, a lot of the skills which they use and made it more efficient rather than, just clicking and clicking and clicking every time to automate something and just, go through your daily mundane tasks and how GIS you can automate through coding or a few lines of code. You don't have to be a programmer to do that. I don't call myself a programmer, but it's really easy. In the 5554, the GPS field techniques class, students have learned field maps, survey 1, 2, 3, creating story maps, using ArcGIS quick capture. They've been designing surveys, they've been going out and collecting data sets, coming back, visualizing the data, analyzing that data set, and creating a story map as part of the class submission. So the GPS field techniques, Python programming, remote sensing, all these 3 or 4 classes have a project component. So you start thinking independently or work in groups with your peers, and then you create a project for your class, which sort of, helps you think that how you're going to apply this, what you learn in the class in the last 2 to 3 weeks, how are you now going to apply and see how it comes out, But once again, overall, the student feedbacks have been really positive. They love the recordings, the asynchronous format that they could go back and watch anytime. And, I've been always available via Zoom whenever they need me, or emails if it's not that, important to go over Zoom and could be just resolved by having a few email back and forth. And I've been really, great responding back and forth pretty quick to my students unless I'm traveling and stuff like that. But again, there's a tremendous amount of flexibility with these classes. And these students who have put out these comments are all working professionals, like yourself, or some of you, maybe not. But all in all, it's been a very positive experience with these online learning. Next slide. So I think with this, I would like to hand over to Amanda, who'll talk to you about the important next steps if you're looking to get into the program. Over to you, Amanda.
Thank you, Dr. Bott. That was a really nice deep dive into the certificates and the classes. I appreciate all the really good information. So if you guys like what you heard here and you're interested in moving forward, we do have a couple of semesters coming up that we have applications out for. And so our fall semester begins Monday, August 25th. We're still admitting students for that semester. And the spring semester that starts in January, definitely have plenty of time to get applications before that as well. So kind of talk through next steps and what that looks like in applying. It's really easy. It's a free application and we try to make it as seamless as possible. So the first thing that you'll do is create an application account. And so use an email address, create a password. Then you'll insert an application for the semester that you're planning to start in. And once you get through that application and select your program of interest and hit submit, there's going to be an admissions checklist that pops up. And that admissions checklist just collects a couple of items for these particular programs. They're really straightforward application. And so you'll upload a copy of your transcripts, you'll upload a resume, and then there is a student statement and a personal statement that's required as part of the application process as well. But once those 3 items are completed, your application gets sent over to the department for review and an admission decision. And Dr. Rod is the one making those decisions. He's usually really quick about getting those back to us. So we can get you moving through the process. I would say probably within a week or so of you finishing up your application, we'll be moving on to the next steps of how to register and getting you ready for the start of the semester. And through that process, you'll work with me. I would suggest if you have any additional questions, setting up an appointment. We'll share a link in the chat to my calendar. I use Calendly and it attaches right to my Google Calendar real time. So it shows my availability. Usually these time blocks are 25 to 30 minutes. We can cover any specific questions. If there's something really unique to you that you want to touch base on, I'm happy to do that. If you have some cost questions or you want to do like a financial review, I do that a lot with prospective students. And so definitely feel free to reach out by email or phone or schedule an appointment on my calendar. I'd be happy to chat with you more one-on-one. And I think with that, I'll hand it over to Rick to close us out.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Parth. Yeah, just in closing here, we've got a link to more information on these programs and Dr. Bott's email contact information. But with that, we have no other presentation slides, so we can open it up to questions. I don't know if any had come in through the chat, but feel free to use the chat. We've got plenty of time here for questions if you've got them. Or I would say too, if you want to unmute to ask your question, you can certainly do that as well.
I have a question. Is there a GRE required for this for applying to the certificate?
Nope.
No
So
GMAT
it's,
either?
No. Yeah, that's the best part, right? You know, and tech applications are free, no GRE required. It's a really easy application process, as Amanda was mentioning. So there's a question.
Yeah, there's a question from Heather Shaw. Do you need official transcripts sent from previous universities? And will graduate MS transcripts meet the requirement?
I can answer that question. So as part of the application itself, we can use unofficial transcripts. So if you have a student copy and that makes it easier, faster for you to finish up your application, absolutely use those in the application portal when you upload your documents. What we are looking for is we're required to show proof that you've earned a bachelor's degree to be able to award you that next level credential, a graduate certificate. So we actually do need the undergrad transcript. When you go and you fill out your application and you put in your education history, you're going to include your bachelor's degree information and your master's degree information if you continued on beyond your bachelor's, and then we would require transcripts for both. The official transcripts, we would require official transcripts once you get started in the program, but usually you can send those in within your first semester of starting, and those would go directly to our grad school admissions office for processing.
While we wait for the question, I think one of the things I forgot to mention during the presentation for the students and those working professionals who are joining in. All of these classes that are developed are really developed in pretty close contact with Esri professionals. And I understand the importance of a degree you're investing in, because at the end of the day, you want to get a job or get a promotion and get the best out of it. So all these courses are sort of developed in sync with the industry standard. I think we have a question. Can you take the advanced GIS certificate without doing the basics GIS certificate first? Jeremiah, I think the answer to that question is if you have any prior GIS classes, even 1 or 2 basic introductory classes, and you have that on your transcript, that could be waived. Although if you have not taken any of the basic introductory GIS classes or GPS field techniques or map design classes, then it might be a bit difficult for you to, or you might face some more challenges, I would say, and have to put more time and effort to go through these classes. And essentially, I would not recommend anyone taking advanced GIS class, especially without taking the introductory class. Python you can take independently, although there's a caveat that you should have at least, again, basic GIS and remote sensing understanding before jumping into Python. So I think, I personally, as long as you have it, you're good. But if you don't, then I recommend starting out with the beginner. Yeah. With the recorded lectures being available. Oh, sorry. Jeremiah, does it answer your question? Okay. Yeah, so I think, if you, I feel like if you feel confident, I think that should be, a good reason to apply for you to the advanced certificate. Yeah. Second question from Kevin. This is Kevin J. So with the recorded lectures being available at any time, what schedule, specific time constraint activities are expected? So there's basically no time that you're supposed to be in for a class, right? Every Sunday I publish the module for that upcoming week. And then you have almost 8 to 9 days to complete the entire week worth of work. The only due dates that go in each week is, for example, if we are having a lab this week on Thursday, the lab will be due next Thursday. So you essentially get like one week almost to complete. And when we have like breaks like Thanksgiving or spring break and October break and stuff like that, you get sometimes 2 weeks for one of the particular labs. But again, if you have like excruciating circumstances, something, we are all, humans, working professionals, something, life happens. And if you have some circumstances, you can always reach out to me. I'm really flexible. But the deadlines are sort of just to keep everyone on track, so that we don't, fall behind. Hope that, does it answer your question, Kevin?
Dr. Bott, if there was any question about them having enough of the prereq or preparatory courses, they can always reach out to you directly to ask those questions and clarify if they should be applying to the foundations or the advanced certificate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And as I said, if you feel like, you have taken those classes in the past and you have your transcripts, as Amanda was mentioning, you can just send it to me and we can definitely waive that requirement.
I do have a question. It's actually something. Do you have to have an undergraduate in forestry to take this graduate certificate, or will other undergraduates?
You can have, there are people in my class who are coming from like civil engineering background. There has been people from computer science, data science, environmental science, humanities. So it's a really, because the nature of GIS is such a wide breadth and depth of application and almost applicable to every field, as we know, people from any major or bachelor's could take the certificates.
Thank you.